Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern may have left last weekend's Labour Party conference upbeat, but recent polling would have put a dampener on that. Duncan Garner joins us. Now, your column this week looks at why you think Labour is out next election.
Well, I think the poll says it all. I mean, they go into their echo chamber of their conference for the weekend where they are with their own people, the sycophants who tell them they're doing great and amazing and don't worry about what people say. It's not true. You guys are in your own bubble. And this is the problem with politicians, and it happens with all parties. They're in their bubble. And then they walk out to the reality. And the reality was stark on Sunday night when the new sub-poll came out, which was a stunning fall. I mean, 6 points at any stage of the cycle is big. But a year out from the election, does this signal, the midpoint of a trend, or is it the start of a trend? I mean, they've been going down for quite some time now. Does it stop at 32, or does it continue to go down? The Prime Minister will be really worried about that because it has transferred to National picking up some support. So the National Bloc can now govern. With that, Labour's 10 points behind as a bloc. It's quite significant. And they'll be worried and they'll be trying to work out. And you've seen it already this weekend. I think they probably knew the poll results before the weekend. They would have been... How it works is that the political editor would probably give them a heads up. So this entire conference was about attacking the guy that had taken the lead. You can see this in their tactics this weekend, this past weekend.
Why do you think the support for Labour is so underwhelming?
Or is it? I mean, is 32% a poor poll? Well, if they got a majority on election night, then it is. But I think it's underwhelming because the very thing that Labour was strong on, Jacinda Ardern in the previous COVID administration, that's now the weakness. People have seen too much of her, they've heard too much, they're tired of it all, and they're trying to put the blame somewhere. So she's a target because she's the figurehead. She was a very good communicator at the start of this whole thing, and now she's, in many people's eyes, maybe become aloof or too overexposed or whatever. And this is what happens. It's like with Helen Clark as well. She was very controlling very early on in her administration, and in the end, that sort of she came unstuck on that sense too. What people's strength is initially is usually their downfall as well, and I think we're seeing it with Jacinda.
Do you think it's a possibility that she'll step down before the election?
I think all options are always on the table, things like that. Most Prime Ministers don't stand down willingly. John Key was a bit different. I think she has to go to the polls and fight it because she has to put her record on the line and say, okay, this is what I believe and this is what we've achieved. But this is the other thing. For a government that has struggled to make anything work, their lack of humility is interesting. And I think they think that they've done an amazing job. But where's the impact been? I think they're certainly overreacted when it comes to a number of the mergers and things, RNZ and TVNZ. Why are we doing this? If it's going to cost us $600 million to merge two media entities that don't wish to be merged, and there's not a single vote in it for the public, why are we spending so much money? Imagine that money at Farmac or building something, infrastructure, houses. It's like this is where ideology has come into play, and I think they're off track.
It's still about 10 months until the election. Could they arrest this decline?
You could do anything. Christopher Luxon could perform badly. And the jury's still out on him too. If you go around to people and you'll find that there's not a... They're just holding back with a judgment on Luxon. And I was with him during the week. He made a very good speech with his notes there, but he didn't refer to his notes at all. He's pretty polished. But he gives an indication of what he wants to do. It's huge. A lot of it's pulling back what Labour did. But what do they stand for apart from tax cuts? And even now they're pulling back on the tax cuts. They're saying that you might get them here, you may get them here, we're not sure, we'll check the books over here and we'll get back to you. It's not actually a guaranteed vote. If you vote for National, you may not get a tax cut.
Could they just be keeping their powder dry until the election?
They always do that. And they will be. And they won't give the details away just yet. As you've seen, Labour's already come in around sort of bracket creep and things like that. So... They won't want to give away their main tax game until the middle of next year. It'll be well into the middle of next year before you see what the Nationals pledges. Yeah.
Mm. So what do you think Labour could do or needs to do to boost itself in the polls?
Buy a fortune biscuit or something like that. I wonder if the phone's off the hook. I wonder if the tide's right out that no matter what they do and what they say, that nothing can change things now unless they bring in a massive bribe to get young people to the polls. I don't know, legalise marijuana or free nurses training for whatever. But they need to do. It'll have to be a massive, and there'll be a fiscal cost to it, which may not be credible. I wonder if the bribe would be seen as too bribey, and there's nothing that can save them. I think that their political capital, even things like Mallard and stuff, have worn people thin, and I think they're fed up. And that's what the poll says.
Duncan, thanks very much for joining us.
You're welcome.